So it'll be a blast, I think. You know what I mean? I think you'll dig it, you know?
Yeah! You know what, Patrick?
What's that?
Man, I am so excited, man. We got our new logo, man.
I like our new logo.
Wow, the first one is kind of creeping people out because Benny shrunk our heads to fit the other characters, and it looked like mutants. Yeah. It was scary, especially yours, you know?
Yours actually going to freak me out, those beady eyes.
No, I think yours with the bald head. I mean, your shrunken head on Danny DeVito's head really freaked Michael Callio out.
I interviewed Danny DeVito.
Oh, you did?
I did. We talked about him producing Pulp Fiction. We talked about him doing Hoffa. You know, cool dude.
Oh, wow.
So I'm honored to have my head on Danny DeVito's book.
All right, man. Hey, it was
Shriek to me.
All right, man. Today's a great day, man. We got Robert Romanos coming in.
I'm looking forward to that. I think Robert's cool.
And we have seen his last couple performances over in Pasadena.
I really enjoy him. He's cool.
With Papa's Kitchen, his little folk group.
Yeah.
And he writes great, funny, humorous songs.
He does a great song called Table for One that I hope he plays today.
Yes. Oh, yes. And the Jeff and Janki show.
That's right, my friend. That's right. That's where we're at.
Cannot happen without our sponsors.
No, sir. Our sponsors are go-go.
Yes. Pacific Wine Merchant and Cigar Exchange in downtown Upland.
Booyah.
Right there at the Metrolink.
Gateway to San Bernardino.
Yes. Live music on the weekends. The finest humidor.
Smoke
in
a
all the
cigar.
valley.
You can watch the sunset over the IHOP. Or IHOB.
And have delicious wines from all over the world. That's Pacific Wine Merchant and Cigar Exchange.
You can listen to the sultry sounds of Erica Loggy singing the blues.
Oh, boy. And how about breakfast, man? Where do you go when you want to eat breakfast?
Well, I want a New York bagel.
You want a New York bagel?
Damn, Skippy. Where can I go? I guess I'll have to buy an $8,000 ticket on a Learjet to New York.
Oh, you don't have to fly out of California
I guess
to
I have
go
to
to
walk
New
to New
York
York.
to get a New York bagel. You could get it right here in Rancho Cucamonga.
What?
Yes, at the corner of Foothill and Archibald in the Northeast Shopping Center corner, you can find New York Bagel and Company.
Interesting. Tell
What
me
makes
more.
a New York bagel, Pat?
Well, I'd have to say New York water.
New York water.
Which fluffs up the bread, according to our man.
They made Jamil from the owner of New York Bagel
Owner-operator, king of all bagels.
He has a pipeline that pumps water in all the way. Nah, just kidding. He has his water imported from New York to make those delicious bagels.
And delicious they are.
Yeah, my favorite is the blueberry. I'm Creature of Habit. That's the one I get every time. How about you?
For me, it's the everything bagel. I mean,
everything
you can
bagel.
just lick your fingers for half a day after that.
Yeah.
Cheers.
And in 8 minutes, we're going to have our guest, Kathy Coleman, Harley Marshall from Land of the Lost.
Nice.
Is going to be calling us in from Las Vegas.
I would very much like that.
Yeah. So what'd you do last night?
Let's see. Well, yesterday was Wednesday, June 20th. A special day of infamy. That's when Jaws opened.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Gosh, how many years?
43 years
43,
of Jaws.
and that was 1975. 1975.
So I celebrated by going to Frankensons.
Oh, you went to Frankensons.
I did. I went to Frankensons, then I hit the gym.
Wow, any good stuff at Frankensons? Did you see any Jaws stuff there?
No, it kind of buzz me out. I was hoping for at least ones. No belt buckle, no tchotchkes, nothing.
No rubber sharks?
Not a one.
Do they still have that shark hanging from the...
They do. They have that big one in the back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I believe Johnny himself owns that. Johnny, who's like the vice president of Frankenstein's. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is he the son of Frank?
I don't know. I've never asked, but Johnny's the cool dude in the ponytail who runs the joint.
Oh, okay. Now there's Frank. I thought it was when I first heard about it. I thought it was like Frankensons, like Frankenstein.
My nephews
Frank
used to
and son.
right. My nephews used to call it. The 7-year-old used to call it Frankenstein's because you get monsters.
That's what it reminded me of. Like another,
New Jurassic Park opens on Friday.
Oh, the new Jurassic Park.
I keep hearing it's boring.
How could you get bored with dinosaurs?
Dinosaurs eating people. I don't know.
Dinosaurs eating people, and it. So where does it take off from? Is it a sequel from the last one?
Yeah, it's a follow-up to Jurassic World. The dinosaurs are getting loose in our world, and we have to protect them or kill them.
Oh, gosh, what do we do? I say protect them.
I do, too.
Yeah, protect the dinosaurs. There's too many people in this world. Let the dinosaurs eat.
Because if you kill the dinosaurs, there's no movie.
Well, you don't want to screw up the ecosystem. They're going to bring balance
that's the argument in the
planet.
book. That's the argument in the book. Remember in the Jurassic Park novel, the Michael Crichton original, the dinosaurs are floating off the island and they're eating babies and stuff. It's great.
Yes. Is there going to be any new hybrid dinosaurs? Was last time? Did they ever kill that one from the last movie?
Yeah, remember the big fish monster helped them kill it, remember?
Oh, yeah.
And he pulls it underwater.
The one was like the dolphin show?
The Indominus Rex, yeah. They pull him in. So I didn't see it. I didn't go to the press screening. I just kept it local. And but now I'm getting the siren song of time to go see the summer dinosaur movie,
Yeah.
So that opens Friday. That opens tomorrow. Trying to think what else. Let's see. How about you? What did you do yesterday?
Well, yesterday God, what happened when I left here?
You were abducted by aliens and rectal probe.
Something like that. I ended up going up the street in the middle of, I got to finish today, restoring a 1963 Harley Davidson golf cart.
Really?
I've got to do some fiberglass work on it and restore it, and then we're going to paint some racing stripes on it and scoot around town.
Cool. And were you happy? How far did you get?
I didn't. I jumped in the guy's swimming pool and said, "Screw it." I said, I'll start today. I didn't want to get all that stuff all over me, right? Yeah. It was just too damn hot. It got a nice swimming pool, so that's what I did.
Well, as long as you were happy, my friend, that's all that matters.
Okay. And we're waiting for Kathy to call. Call right now, Kathy, if you're out there listening. We got 4 more minutes. We're trying to think of, what are we going to talk about for 4 minutes till our guest calls?
Although ordering her to call immediately is sort of sad.
Wow, I just got a notice. Our show is on live right now. Look at that.
Nifty.
Oh, don't press it. We might get echoes and everything.
I apologize.
Uh-oh. You guys are on the air? I can't hear anything. Why?
Who said that?
Why?
Get us on the air.
Let's find out.
I'm just going to hang here and hope. Hope.
Let's see.
I'm going to hold on to my hat and wait.
We got our microphones on. We've got our auxiliaries going. We got our phone line. Anybody else going to tell us? I should have pressed that button anyway to test it. Let's see.
Never been.
Oh, here it goes. Let's see. Uh-oh, is that a delayed?
That sounds like it might be a delay. This is the magic. This is the magic of radio. Jeff and I are stopping to watch the show from 5 minutes ago, which is not how we want to do things.
Well,
this is the magic of radio. Jeff and I are stopping to watch the show. There we are. Thank heavens. Okay, good. Talk. Say
well,
something.
Steve Joyner just he clicked the link here, did her. I just clicked it and I'm hearing myself.
Steve said he's hearing dead air.
Oh,
this is not good. Hold on.
It's working on our end.
Okay, that's all that matters. Do the show for yourself and hope for the best.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm telling you. Let's see. What a terrible.
Oh God. Oh, here we go.
Hit the ground running.
Hold on.
First guest in the morning, Kathy Coleman. As soon as Jeff gets his crap together. Jeff is tearing his phone apart.
I'm going to, I'll just call her on auxiliary.
You had 15 minutes to get this right and you still didn't do it?
Okay.
Terrible.
I'm going to call her back. Do. Okay. Here we go. Ding-a-ling-a-ling.
Answering machine.
Message, and I'll be sure to return your call. Thanks. Have a great day.
Oh, here she goes. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, Kathy.
We got the charming Kathy Coleman of Land of the Lost on the air with us today, people.
Wow.
Good
morning.
Good morning, Kath. How are you?
I'm good. How's everybody else?
So far, so good, little lady. Talk to us.
We're bright and shiny. It's overcast here in Rancho Cucamonga.
Oh, yeah.
How about
We got
Vegas?
the sun come. I'm actually not in Vegas. I'm up in Reno, and
Reno.
the sun's coming up, and it's really nice. It's going to be a scorcher today, probably about 90.
America's biggest little city.
So
Yeah, it's cool up here. I'm liking it.
How long have you been up there, Kath?
Actually, about a week ago, it was a year.
Wow, very nice.
So, yeah, so up here on some family stuff, but it's all working out good, and I'm happy and content. And
That's very important. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's very, very important. I'm happy you're happy, actually, you know?
I'll actually be in Vegas, though, next month, at the end of next month, Star Trek convention.
Ooh.
What? Kathy, did you do Star Trek?
No, but this is kind of funny. No, but we're almost like a cousin to Star Trek because
Same writers.
we had all the same writers.
Chekhov even
and
wrote for
the
you
same,
guys.
Really?
Same
Yeah.
makeup.
Wow, the same makeup artist, really?
Well, Mike Westmore, have you guys ever heard of the show Face Off?
I know about Mackenzie's his daughter. I've actually been in Mike Westmore's makeup chair.
Okay, well, there you go. I have as well. Anyway, so he was our makeup. He and a few of his brothers were the makeup artists on our show. They're the ones who made the Slee Stacks and everything. And anyhow, but all the writers, like David Gerald, who wrote Trouble with Tribbles.
Oh,
and
that's right.
C.C. Fontana, Larry Niven. I mean, all of the Star Trek, Walter Koenig, all the people from Star Trek have something to do with our show. So we kind of slide in there. And we've done it for the last 5 years. And we'll be back this year, and Wesley and I.
Oh, this will be over at the Rio, right? I covered that about 3
Yeah.
years ago for Star Trek the magazine.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
it's at the Rio. And it's fun. I mean, we've become, like a family member over there. We know a lot of people, and we have a good time. And we're bringing the raft.
Well, are you really? Good girl.
Yeah.
Wow. You're bringing the raft.
This will be the first year with the raft. So
Wow.
Is it with the green screen behind, or do you put a backdrop? Or?
No, but people Photoshop them. I mean, we've even had somebody, they get real creative. That's had one guy put the raft on the angle of a skyscraper. It's just, people do really odd, crazy things, but yeah.
Like they're going over the cliff? Wow.
So, we've got them, people put them, in normal places like in water shots and stuff, but we've had people do some pretty trippy things with it. So. So this is the beginning. We'll start off the beginning of like convention season, and we're going to New York. I think we're going to Cocoa Beach in Florida. And then I'm also doing, because my book came out. And by the way, this is like really exciting because it was completely unexpected. My publisher put me up for an award, and she goes, I didn't want to tell you that I had submitted you. She said, because in case you didn't place, I didn't want you to feel bad. She goes, but you won.
Wow.
So I won the national, my book won the National Indie Excellence Award of 2018.
What's your book called, Kath?
Run, Holly, Run.
I'm laughing at it because I remember watching, when we were kids, watching all our favorite Saturday morning live action shows, and there was Run, Joe, Run about that army dog, and the guy chasing his dog and getting about 50 feet from him, and then the dog would take off.
It was The Fugitive with the German Shepherd.
Yeah, it was The Fugitive.
The craziest thing I totally know that show, and that show is the very reason why I got Lands of the Lost.
Tell me more.
I had gone up for one episode of Run, Joe, Run, right?
All right.
Yes.
And I went up with, back then, you'd go on an audition and 100 girls would go up for the same part, and then they'd narrow it down on the callbacks. Well, it got down to Christy McNichol and myself, and I did not get the job. Christy McNichol got it.
Wow.
And you know what? It was a 2-day shoot. Well, during the 2 days that was filming, my agent called me and said, I have another interview for you, because I was free, obviously. I didn't get that 2-day job, and it was for Land of the Lost. Now, had I got that job for 2 days, I would have missed the interview for Land of the Lost, and I would have never been on that show.
You would have just had
God works in mysterious ways.
God is a Sid and Marty Krofft fan, apparently.
Yeah, and 40-something years later, I'm still doing stuff with Land of the Lost. It's amazing.
That is amazing. Hey, why did the father bail? You played Holly Marshall. You had a father on the show. Why did he bail? Why did they send him back and bring in your uncle?
Well, he didn't actually bail in the ways that people might think. What happened was, we truly were, and even to this day, us, Jeff, Wesley and Phil and I, we like really love each other, and that's not some put on for the fans or anything. We're like super close.
Like real brothers and sisters, man. You got a real tight bond.
Without a doubt, I call Wesley and we have the most intimate conversations about everything. It spans the globe on what we talk about. So anyway, Spencer, who was exactly the same in the sense of very like we were like a real family,
right.
He tried to negotiate, which was good on his part. He tried to negotiate so that we would get a percentage of the merchandise. Well, we wound up getting nothing, but when Spencer was trying to get us at least like maybe 2 or 3% for all of us, and they said no, and he said, you know what, I'm out of here then. And so he walked, but he walked on a good note. He was trying to do something nice for us.
Wow.
And they didn't want any part of it, and so he walked.
I mean, that could have been some money there with the lunch boxes.
Well, there were games, there were coloring books, there was all kinds of stuff, and so we just never got any of that.
Now, when Will Ferrell did the remake of Land of the Lost, were you invited? Were you guys invited to do cameos?
Wesley and I did a cameo, and then they wound up, they had 4 endings to the movie, and they chose another one. But I'm telling you, it was weird. We were at the La Brea Tar Pits,
right?
And Wesley was like a parking attendant, and I was like his girlfriend, or I don't know. It was so odd, and it was just really, really very weird. And the movie, it may have been called Land of the Lost, but that was not what Land of the Lost was at all.
It was a freaky. It was like a Saturday Night Live spoof thing,
Yeah. It was like, what the heck? Why is Marshall making out with Holly, and why is Chaka groping her, and why does she have a British accent?
Yeah.
No, are you still tight with Philip Paley, who played Chaka?
Yeah, he does. He does the conventions with us. He's not doing the Star Trek convention with us this year, but we were just in Pensacola earlier this year, and then we did a Dallas show with him, and then about 6 weeks ago, Phil and I, because Wesley was doing a play in Florida, so he couldn't join us, but Phil and I did the Hollywood show in L.A.
Wow.
Oh, that's what you saw. You saw Steve Joyner there, didn't you? Was
he there? And I wound up doing Joe Crawford's radio show.
Wow, very nice.
Cool.
Well, because I got that through Steve Joyner.
Yeah. Steve's a great guy. He's hooked us up with so many great guests.
No, Bill Lamphere, the famous Piston, he played one of the Sleestacks, right?
Yeah.
Talk about that. Talk about the Sleestacks.
Wow, that's amazing.
Well, we had 3 Sleestack costumes, and I would say over the course of the 3 years, probably about 10 different Sleestacks. We even had one that was kind of a chubby one, which was
a chubby Sleestack. What's he eating?
A fat Sleestack.
Stone soup? No, I don't think so.
He was gorging on the strawberries, maybe. I don't know, but he was the one who spoke.
Wow.
Not Enoch. No, there was Enoch. Enoch was the intelligent one that was sort of like the leader.
He wore the tunic, right? He wore the tunic.
No, he was not Enoch. It was a Sleestack named Slatch. And, he wasn't anywhere near, because the basketball players that played the Sleestack were like 6'10" and above.
Oh, gosh, they're taller than Patrick.
And there was one, the Slatch one, he didn't need to stretch the costume up. He just stretched it out a little bit. But I'll tell you who else was a Sleestack.
Please.
And you can see him periodically if you ever catch old episodes of Chips.
Yeah.
He's one of the cops in the precinct, and he's a regular in the precinct. So whenever they do shots of the Chips guys in the office,
right,
you can see him. His name is John Lambert. And he, to me, I had like a little girl crush on him back in the day. He was the most handsome Sleestack you've ever seen.
Wow, that's crazy how they got these other actors to do, because, we're wondering if that could be anybody in those costumes,
Yeah, these guys were all like UCLA basketball players, except for Bill Lambert, who to this day, we've actually, not me, but some other people connected have asked him if he wants to join us at the shows. He wants like $100,000 guarantee.
Oh God, get out of here!
I don't think anybody gets that.
No, that's ridiculous.
I'm from Detroit, and I think he's worth it.
That's I've heard people getting, $10,000, $20,000 guarantees, but $100,000,
for a Sleestack.
Yeah. Well, no, because of course of his, his basketball stuff.
Well, those guys are all overpaid anyway, as far as I'm concerned. How many Sleestacks were there in one scene? I mean, I remember a lot of.
She's had 3 costumes.
There was only 3?
Yeah, there's only 3 at one time.
3 at one time.
3 was the maximum. But I'll tell you one thing that was interesting. I just remembered this. There was a young girl who came up to our table. She was maybe, I don't know, 19 or something. She came up to our table one time and she started crying. She had just willy-nilly come to one of these conventions. And she came to our table and she's crying in front of it. And because she's looking, you know how I have that green sleestack head on my table?
Right.
Yeah.
She's looking at that and she goes, that was my dad. And I go, what? And she goes, my dad was a sleestack. And it turns out Green, I forget his last name. But anyway, it was, her father was a sleestack on the show, and she actually called him at our table, and we talked to him.
Dave Greenwood.
Yeah, that's who it was, Dave Greenwood.
Wow, what a trip. I mean, to just go, oh my God, she just got all sentimental.
Yeah, and wasn't expecting us to be there, just saw the head. And, you know, if she was only like 18, 19 years old, you know, that would have just been something that she was told about, you know, and maybe saw a rerun or something. It wouldn't be anything she grew up on.
No.
So all she's heard her whole life was, yeah, one time I was a sleestack, you know. Yeah, so that was kind of interesting.
Richard Kiel was on the show. What do you remember about him?
Yeah. Actually, a couple of things that stand out. I remember, you know, he was 7'2".
No.
And he was on the show actually twice. And one of the characters he played was a caveman.
Right.
And he had to wear these like laced up sandals that lace all the way up the calves, like to the knees. And I remember the wardrobe lady told me, she said, you know, when he was growing up, he couldn't afford to have custom shoes made. So he would have to squeeze into the largest thing that was sold on the market.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
And I think he wore like a size 24.
Wow.
That's bigger than you, Pat.
Much, yeah, by 8.
So anyway, she said when she was fitting him for his sandals, like his toes were like, you know, bent under, you know, from years of not being able to afford good shoes. But of course, later on in his life, you know, when he was Jaws in the James Bond movies. And I'm sure he made plenty of money from that. But anyway, and then that was just something that stood out. I know it's not the funnest story to tell, but it was a memory.
It's a good story.
And the other one was that we met his wife, and she was 5'1".
Oh my God, that is just crazy.
Wow.
And then actually, you know what, years later, apparently he had something to do with Star Trek, maybe The Next Generation or something.
Right.
I saw him at the Star Trek convention.
Wow.
Was he there signing? Was he there?
Yeah, he was a guest, and I saw him. I saw his wife. I sat with him for a little while and talked to him. But he's passed on since then. But it would have been maybe 5 or 6 years ago or something that I saw him.
Well, me and Pat were at the last Monsterpalooza he was at. And we got to see him before. He was riding that little scooter around.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing too well. And then we heard he passed away
about... How long ago was that?
It was about 6
months.
Long ago?
Ago?
It was about 6 months before he passed, right? Pat?
Yeah, essentially about 6 months before he passed.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's very weird. I see all these celebrities at these conventions, and it'll be like, I have just done one with them, and then all of a sudden I hear that they passed away. It's like, wow. I did one here in Vegas with Ernest Borgnine.
Oh, yeah.
It was so much fun. He was so cool. And then like 2 weeks after the convention was done, I heard that he passed away, and I thought, oh, my God, how blessed it was to be able to have met him.
Yeah. With Ernest Borgnine. Wow.
I heard nothing but good things about when people meet him for the first time. He's just such a great guy.
Talk about a great representative of the industry. actors can get a bad rap and people say that they're snobs or whatever. He was the nicest man, and he had a resume as long as his arm of a body of work.
Oh, yeah.
And you'd never in a million years know he was any different than Joe the gas station attendant.
Wow. So tell us about,
very nice.
Speaking of classic TV, Kathy, tell us about doing it 1 Adam 12.
Oh my gosh! I loved that show when I was a kid.
It's weird how this business is like a spider web, and it's like somehow if you've worked up with one person, somehow you wind up knowing 10 other people because of that. Well, the day that I did Adam 12, Kent McCord was there, and Martin Milner was not. I think it was one of the two was not on the. I think it was Martin Milner that wasn't there that day, and so Mark Harmon was a rookie cop, and he was partnered up with him.
Wow.
So the day I did my show, it was with Kent McCord and Mark Harmon.
Wow,
what a trip! I had no idea.
What did you think of Mark Harmon, Kathy?
I think it might have been his first job.
I had his nephew in a class.
It was way long. Of course, I was only about 12, and it was long before, NCIS or anything.
Wow.
Well, he did that beach movie. Wasn't it called Summer School?
Well, that was long after that. Yeah.
That was that? Yeah.
Yeah, and then he also did wasn't the Hillside Strangler. What was the other guy?
Right, with Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy.
Yeah, the handsome guy. Yeah, you would cast Mark Harmon as the Hillside Strangler.
That was the work that he did that put his name on the map.
Right.
All I remember in the early 80s that all the girls had crush on him when he did that one Summer School movie.
Yeah. And then when I got married, come to find out my husband had 6 other brothers, and they all knew Mark Harmon. And then one of the brothers was married to Tracy Nelson.
Really?
Which is related to Mark Harmon. Do you guys remember the old Tic Tac commercial? There was a woman.
Kelly Harmon. She used to do the radio spots in Detroit. I remember her well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, that's Mark's sister.
Yes.
And she was married to Rick Nelson.
Wow.
Oh, my God. What you talk about a spider web. Wow.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh.
It's all like so intertwined. And Billy Moses is who Tracy was married to. And Billy used to be on Falcon's Crest with, what's that guy's name?
What's his name?
Lorenzo Lamas.
Yes, yeah.
Right. Wow.
And Morgan Fairchild.
And our old pal, Joan Van Ark.
And also my mother-in-law, my husband's mother, played Morgan Fairchild's mother on Falcon's Crest.
What's your mother-in-law's name, Kathy?
She's no longer with us, but her name was Marion McCargo. She was also in a movie with John. She did a lot of work back in the day, but one of her bigger parts was a movie with John Wayne. I keep getting it confused with The Undefeated, but that's Clint Eastwood. But
right. Let's
anyway.
Cargo. Now you got me curious. Wow, that's amazing.
It's
just such a weird spider web effect that this industry has. Somebody will say, "Oh, I did this with that person," and I'm like, "Oh, you know what? I know that person was." Somehow we're all connected. That's the beauty of like the whole thing with Star Trek. No, we didn't do it, but yet we have the same writers and the same makeup, and
that is amazing to me. I mean, that you worked with. What do you remember about the writer? Actually, the writer of Trouble with Tribbles, who did Land of the Lost. What do you remember about David Gerald?
Well, not a whole lot, because he was more behind the scenes. And keep in mind, a lot of people want to ask me questions about the technical aspect of Land of the Lost. I was 12, and I had school on the set, and I had my lines to memorize, And then I had to fit in as much mischief and playtime as possible.
Wow.
And I had Phil, who was a year younger than me, and we were like two kids on the set. And everybody else, you know, Wesley was an adult, even though he was playing a teenager. He was an adult, so we got him part of the time to play with us, but he would hang out with the adults too. And all that conversation about, you know, what was being produced, technical aspects and all of that, we got glimpses of it, but
you're just
you know,
a kid.
We were just kids. Yeah. Well, people are like, they wanted to know like the financial aspects of it. I have no idea.
You're asking me, a 12-year-old kid?
There was a guy.
Yeah. I just showed up. You know, I put on my checkered shirt, braided my hair, and I was ready to go running around the jungle.
Where was that jungle? Were you at Renmar or KTLA?
Neither. We were at this place. It no longer is called what it used to be called. It used to be called General Services. Now it's, I think, called the Hollywood Studio or something. It's on Las Palmas and Santa Monica.
I know it well. Wow. All right, let me ask you this. Do you remember a stop-motion guy who did Dopey the Dinosaur on your show? Do you remember a guy named Pete Kleinow?
No, not the name, but I do remember that we had one guy that did the hand puppets, which there was a hand puppet of Grumpy, and there was a hand puppet of Dopey for close-up shots. and then we also one day, if you go on YouTube, my family took some home movies on that, what's it called? 9mm?
Oh no, Super 8.
8mm, yeah.
Like the
Super 8. Super 8. And then so they're really like blurry, they're dark, but you can still see like good chunks of it where you can see like the behind the scenes things. And there's one little section of it where Phil and I are holding, one of us has Grumpy and the other one of us has one of the other actual stop motion dinosaurs, the figures actually. We're holding them in this video, and it's on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and type in like my name, a couple of home movies will come up. That one, I've got one when I was in this band that I was in where I'm dancing on the stage. That one pops up. And,
oh wow!
Pete Kleinow.
Because before Land of the Lost, I did 2 national tours for 2 years with a band, so I was doing that.
What
before.
band, John?
Now this was in times of when DeFranco family and Partridge family were really big.
Yeah, around that time. And by the way, I met the DeFranco family.
You met?
Did you really?
You remember them? I know it's Jeff on the line, but what's your name?
I'm Pat. I'm sorry, I should have introduced myself. I'm Pat Jankowitz. I met you through my friend Dave Shelton, Kathy.
Boy, you sound a lot like Jeff.
Oh, you heard me more than I can possibly tell you.
We're unbiological twins, as you saw in the promo we put on Facebook. Don't you? We were.
God, you guys, your voice, Pat, sounds so familiar to me.
Well, I met you through Dave Shelton. If you remember him, Dave Shelton and Tammy Zorg.
Yeah, I know Dave Shelton. It's just your voice sounds so familiar to me.
Okay, let me clear this all up. Pat and I were together the last time we saw you and Wesley at that Pasadena show.
But I met you before.
Okay.
But also, Kathy, I've covered Star Trek conventions.
Oh, my God. I just saw your face. I know exactly who you are. It just dawned on me. You're really tall.
I am really tall, yes.
Brown hair, blue eyes.
Thank you,
Brown
Joe.
hair, blue eyes.
That's me. Wow. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I totally know who you are. You have like shoulder-length hair.
Yes. I love that I love that Holly from Land of the Lost knows me. You made my week.
It's your voice. And then all of a sudden, I kept thinking about your voice, and all of a sudden it dawned on me. I know exactly who you are.
Oh, thank you, Kathy. Well, Kathy, one of the great stories, I write for a lot of magazines in the U.S. and England. And with the stop motion guy from Land of the Lost, Pete Kinow, told me one of the amazing stories. Pete was doing your show. He was doing stop motion in your show when John Lennon called him. He left the set of Land of the Lost where he was puppeteering the dinosaurs. Hey, coming in. He left the set of Land of the Lost to go do guitar on Mind Games because John Lennon needed a lead guitar. Great to see you.
Wow.
You know? So he literally went from your dinosaur family show to go jam all night long with John Lennon and then come back in the morning to finish the stop motion work.
Wow, that's really cool. And once again, here comes the spider crawling along. I was at Chiller. You guys have heard of Chiller, right?
We have, of course.
That's East Coast.
The New Jersey version of Not As Good as Monster Palooza.
Well, we've done that a few times, but the last time I was at Chiller last year, I ran into, and I got to hang out with, and it was so cool and so much fun, May Pang.
Holy cow, John Lennon's from the Lost Weekend.
Well, no, she had a whole full-blown relationship with John.
But remember,
she used to live with Yoko and him.
Yeah, that was weird to the capital W, you know what I mean? May Pang, they referred to it as the Lost...
She told me some of the best stories. Oh, my God, it was crazy.
Tell us.
Well, one of them was when they lived at the Dakota.
Uh-huh.
She said that, at first when she was like their Girl Friday, and then she got into doing their accounting, and she was doing one of everything. There's wealthy people tend to have one of these types of people in their lives, the ones that really know all the dirt that's going on in the family that they don't want the rest of the world to know.
Right.
I've been around this, and there's always somebody like that involved. It's just like Cohen is Trump's guy like that.
Uh-huh.
He knows all the dirt. He did all the dirty deeds for Trump. And so anyway, May Pang knew them really well, right?
Right.
And she said that one day she came up the maintenance elevator in the Dakota, and she said she used to get there early so she could get into the kitchen, because this is where the apartment was, right?
Right.
And she goes, I just want to get my coffee and be by myself and get my thoughts together, and then I would start my day. And she goes, and I loved it when I get there and no one was there. But she said, I hated the mornings when I'd come up the elevator and the doors would open to the kitchen, and Yoko would be sitting at the table. And so she said, Yoko said to her one day, you know what? I need you to be with John. And she goes, oh, no. I couldn't be that
Yoko Ono in our lives.
And she goes, well, he's starting to stray. He's starting to look at others. And I need you to be with him so we can keep, somewhat control over this. Well, she ran out of there crying. She wanted nothing to do with it. And she said Yoko was relentless. She just kept coming after her and after her every day. I need you to do this. Do you want John to leave us? Blah, 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 making her feel guilty and everything. And so finally she decided that she would hang out with John more and be with him even. And anyway, she said what happened was it wound up, the controlling aspect of Yoko wound up backfiring on her, because she said what she didn't anticipate was that John fell in love with me.
Wow.
So she had some really interesting stories to tell.
That's amazing, Kathy. And by the way, where can we follow you on? Where can our listeners follow you on Facebook and stuff?
Okay, I'm on Facebook. I have a Twitter account. And my book is on Amazon. It's called Run, Holly, Run.
Run, Holly, Run.
And I get to, and my agent told me this. She said, do you realize that for the rest of your life, you get to put these words in front of your name, award-winning author. And you know what? That just cracks me up because you guys know me, and I'm as goofy as I'll get out. And it just seems so funny to have such a title, but it's cool. I'm excited.
I watched almost every episode of that Run, Joe, Run. I saw Robbie Wrist in that one of the episodes.
I'm not on Run, Joe, Run.
He was not on Run, Joe, Run, dumbass. Haven't you been listening to her?
No. He was on an episode.
No, well, he's not on the show, is he? No. Our host.
And my book isn't called Run, Joe, Run.
It's called Run, Holly, Run, you moron.
And the reason it's called Run, Holly, Run is because, first of all, that's what Leslie used to say to me all the time on the show.
Holly, run.
But it also is like it's a spin on words. It's because for the rest of my life, I've been doing a lot of running, and it's just a.
You're taller than Wesley now. I remember.
Perfect title to describe my situation.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
anyway,
Kathy,
yes, the third year I was looking him in the eye. Yes.
Wow, but it's been a blast. I've been asked to cover it at the Rio, so if I'm there, if I'm in Vegas, I will come hang with you. Okay.
Cool. You have to jump in the raft.
Oh, I would be honored to jump in the raft with you, Kat.
Go on a routine expedition.
You're going to have to sing the whole damn song. I'm going to force you to.
Hey, I want to ask you before you go, when did you do that? I can't remember if it was Triscuits or it was some cracker commercial you did.
Oh, Cheez-It.
Cheez-Its! Yeah. That's the first time
Before Land of the Lost.
That's
so
what I saw.
I saw about 10.
Yes, I
was
saw
about 10.
I saw that commercial, and I fell in love with you when I saw that commercial.
In a John Hinckley, Jodie Foster sense.
I want you to be my girlfriend.
Jeff was pretty sad.
I was eating Cheez-Its. I made my mom buy me Cheez-Its after that commercial.
Well, you know that Phil's in that commercial with me, right?
No, I had no idea.
Yeah, that's Phil and I. We knew each other before Land of the Lost, which is the craziest thing. When I was on like my 5th callback on Land of the Lost, they had us, meet the rest of the cast that they were considering, and Phil's there, and I'm like, "Why are you here? What are you doing?" And he goes, "I'm auditioning for the part of Chaka."
The part of Chaka.
So I knew him before Land of the Lost. We had worked together.
That's amazing.
There's that, itsy bitsy spider thing again.
There you go.
So
I want to introduce you to our live guest who just walked in, Robert Romanos from Fast Times at Ridgemount High. Say hello to Holly.
Oh, hey, Robert. How are you?
Kathy Coleman,
Holly,
Robert Romanos. Jeff, for some reason, is referring to her by her character name for her TV show. Kathy Coleman, Robert, Kathy.
Hi, Kathy.
Nice to meet you, hon.
You too.
Well, you're gonna have a good time with these guys. They'll take good care of you.
We adore you, Kathy, and I look forward to seeing you at the Rio.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Everybody have a wonderful day in Rancho Cucamonga.
Wow, thank you for knowing.
Hopefully I'll see you soon.
All right, bye.
Alrighty.
Thank you,
Take it
Kathy.
easy.
Bye.
Bye.
Robert, we've got beloved character actor, but more importantly, musician, Papa's Kitchen, founding member.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. If we can start, I want to go a little obscure with you. I really liked, you did a movie, the title it was released on was, it had like 3 different titles, Shatterbrain. You did The Departed. You did Dan O'Bannon, who wrote Alien.
That's right.
And he directed the cult classic Return of the Living Dead.
That's right.
I've interviewed Chris Sarandon, and I'd like to hear about you working with it. Did you shoot that in Romania? You did this amazing Lovecraft adaptation with O'Bannon.
Yeah, no, we shot that up in Canada, up in Vancouver, actually. They had a big warehouse. They built all the sets, and then we used some of the exteriors up there. It was supposed to look like Pawtucket, Rhode Island, or something like that.
Lovecraftian, you know what they're going
exactly,
for.
Yeah.
Did you like it? Were you happy doing it?
Oh, I had a great time, man. Just a great time, a great cast, and whenever I'm working, I'm happy. Even if the cast is miserable and the room is miserable, I'm always happy when I'm working.
Now, you're one of the guys they refer to as that guy because you're in so many movies as so many different characters and a lot of episodics.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that weird? I mean, that so many people think they went to high school with you?
I'm used to it by now, really,
Because Bill Paxton told me people stopped him every day and they insisted they went to school with him because he looked so familiar to them. Do you get that a lot too?
I get it sometimes, and sometimes I'll just play along with them. I sat behind you in Poli Sci. You don't remember? Jesus Christ. I slept with you. You don't remember that? Jeez.
Wow. So you started out, also different is you didn't start out to be an actor. You started out to be a musician, right?
That's right. I came out here in 1976. And my goal was to be Doc Severinsen's drummer.
Really?
On The Tonight Show. That would have been my dream job.
Wow.
And but that was sewn up by Louis Belson, Ed Shaughnessy, so.
Wow.
So I ended up as a singing waiter in a restaurant. Yeah.
Oh, no. What restaurant?
Yeah. It was called the Great American Food and Beverage, and it was a really great place out in Hollywood. And everybody who worked there had to entertain, so except for the cooks. And I started in the kitchen as a cook because I was shy. And then there was a little better money out on the floor as a waiter, so I got moved out to the floor, but I had to get up and sing in front of people, and I was really terrified. As a drummer, you sit back and you're surrounded by cymbals, and you're in your own world. But here I'm right up on stage. So I took an acting class to get over my nerves.
Who'd you take it with?
This was the first class I ever took was with a guy named Bobby Lyons. And
Robert Lyons.
Yes, exactly.
Guest on The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, he had a nice career too as an actor, And from that very first time that I was up on stage and he told me to tell a story, I kind of fell in love with the idea that I could be up on the stage and be all the things in life that I have a hard time being because I'm shy. I could be the jerk, I could be the lover, I could be the whatever. And I just sort of fell in love with that idea, so I pursued it.
Wow. And now, when you were pursuing it, what did you get your SAG card on?
Well, I got my SAG card on a movie called Foxes with Jodie Foster.
Wow! And the DJ, the woman DJ, the self-help DJ. What's her name? She's in the cast of Foxes. You know what? Marilyn something. Oh, help me here.
I don't know what do you mean by self-help?
She became a.
Marilyn. Yes.
Yeah, Marilyn Kagan. Marilyn Kagan.
Yes, exactly. And Cherie Curie.
Oh, Cherie Curie.
Yeah, that was her. That was the film that she left the Runaways for.
Wow. Her sister Sandra was also on The Incredible Hulk.
Oh, I guess you're a fan.
Yeah, I wrote it.
And let me see. Where was I? What were we talking about?
You got your SAG card on Foxes.
Oh, yeah. I told this guy who I said, I was hanging out with him. We were friends. I asked him if he could get me a meeting with his agent, I said, I'll give you 10% of everything I make if you get me a meeting with your agent. So he got me a meeting with his agent, and that was back in the days when he had to, prepare a monologue and go in and perform it live. And so I did that, and the agent took me on. And it really wasn't long after that I got the audition for Foxes.
Wow.
And, I got it. I was quite shocked, And it was kind of a nightmare job.
How so?
Well, it was my very first job, and I didn't even know what a mark was.
Wow.
So I had this really intense scene where I come walking down there. There's this big White Snake concert or something. And there must have been 500 extras there. And I have to come walking down this hall through a crowd of people and hit my mark and say a line to Jodie Foster.
Wow.
But I didn't know what a mark was. So I kept coming down the hallway and missing my mark. And must have been 25 takes. And the whole crew was pissed at me, and the director was pissed at me, and the actors were pissed at me. And the more everybody got pissed at me, the more insecure and freaked out I got.
Sure.
Finally, I nailed it, I think I walked down with my head straight down, looking for the mark, found it, lifted up my head, and said my line.
That's almost a whole spool of 35 millimeter film.
Oh, I'm telling you, I put everybody on overtime. I mean, it wasn't a big part. It really should have just been in and out, but that was my experience. So, but, you dive in head first and you come out a little better for it. I did, I learned what a mark was.
You sure did by the time you left set.
I will never forget where a mark is again.
How did you learn to calm down? I mean, finding your mark, you know what I mean?
Well, you have no choice. I had no choice. I mean, literally, I walked with my head down to find that mark, when you throw yourself into something like that, you got to keep moving. When you find yourself in hell, keep walking, And so I did until I finally nailed it.
Wow.
And then the next scene, which was a day later, the director came into my room, my dressing room, and he was English. I don't do a good English accent, but he's like, I know you can do it, Scott.
that was Adrian Lynn, wasn't it? Who directed Fatal Attraction.
That's right.
Wow.
I've seen you do it. I know you can do it. So let's get out there and do it. And I did, actually.
Did that help?
Gave me a pep talk. He really did, because, I showed up the second day, and I'm like, oh, fuck, man. Everybody's like, hey, must think I'm a real jerk. And so he came in, gave me a nice little pep talk, and it worked out good.
Wow, that's it. But you started on Fox's, one of the big, really dark girl-centered movies.
I think it's a beautiful movie, really sort of underrated, and it's based on a true story. The writer, I think his name was Gerald Ayres. His daughter had 3 friends, and that was her story.
Wow.
So, and also it's a beautiful movie to watch if you want to get a sense of what the Valley looked like in the 70s.
Wow.
It's really, really cool, because it shot all exteriors out in the Valley,
It's one of the last chances to see one of the ship's restaurants, actually.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
I miss Chips. It was it was on its last legs when my family moved to California in the 80s. It was sort of like the only California version of Denny's.
I don't even remember Chips.
You don't remember Chips?
No.
Shame on you, sir.
I remember the name, but I can't picture the restaurant,
It was like Denny's, but the girls had poofier sleeves on their waitress uniforms.
Was there one on La Cienega?
There was one in La Cienega.
Yeah, down by Melrose.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember.
You usually go there after cruising the strip.
Yeah, right. Late at night for eggs. Sure.
Now, when you started singing, when you started doing the music scene, who'd you gig with? Did you gig with any different cool bands?
No, nobody cool. But I never stopped playing music. I got my first drum set when I was 8 years old. And when I went to college, I took my drum set with me, but nobody would let me play it in the dorm. So I picked up the guitar, and the truth is I never met an instrument I didn't like. So I've always played music, and the restaurant that I'm talking about, the Great American Food and Beverage Company, there were so many talented people there, guitar players, bass players, and that was really my crowd. It was almost like a school, you know what I mean? We were very tight, and Severin Brown used to work there. It was Jackson Brown's brother,
Really?
Yeah, sure. I think... Peter Tork worked there.
Peter Tork?
I was a little freaked out when I saw him. I'm like, holy shit, how fast can you fall?
Yeah, Peter Tork is working.
But he was such a nice guy and a humble guy. And, it was really a bunch of talented people. Lowen and Navarro, I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They had that song, We Belong to the Light, We Belong to the Thunder.
Wow.
That Pat Benatar tune. So
yeah, that must have made them rich.
It sure did, yeah. And so, that was really my crowd of people that I played with. And it wasn't until maybe about 20-something years ago that I was going through some stuff at home with the wife and the kids, and my friend Steve was going through his own stuff. And so we decided to get together twice a week and just play music. And so it turned out almost to be like a therapy session. It was every Tuesday and Thursday. And the rule was you could only lay down one track. We'd set up the studio and pick an instrument, lay down a track.
Wow.
Okay, whatever it is. So like I'd sit at the drums and I'd play, 2 minutes of whatever. And then he'd pick up his guitar and he'd play to that.
Wow.
And he'd get one take.
Really?
Yeah, and then I'd play the bass and we'd get one take. And then either him or I would spew the shit from the week that we, it wasn't meant to be songwriting. It was more like therapy, And so it was really that, we consistently are still to this day getting together twice a week. But, after 20-something years now, we were just finishing up our 9th CD. At some point we said, hey, a lot of this stuff sounds really good. Why don't we just write some songs? So that's what we started to do.
Just putting lyrics to the stuff you composed?
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly.
And I have to ask, where did the name Papa's Kitchen come from?
Well, I think we started with a little, you remember those little 4 tracks with a cassette?
Yes. I had a Fostex.
Fostex.
I had that recorder too back in the 80s.
It was a little 4-track, and you could put like 32 tracks, but you keep bouncing down the one track.
Yeah, you ping pong them back and forth.
Exactly.
And make your master.
I had that set up in my kitchen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I
go.
think and I just become a dad or something. So I don't know. It just sort of came out, Papa's Kitchen, whatever.
How many kids do you have?
I have 3 kids. I have twins that are 22 years old, and my daughter is in London doing her master's degree in social anthropology.
Wow, great.
She went to school in St. Andrews in Scotland. And then my son just graduated about a year and a half ago from Emerson in Boston. And he's he's an athlete. He played collegiate sports. So he loves competition. So he's involved in politics, but he's involved in campaigns.
Wow.
So now he worked for the Democratic governor, Ralph Northam, last year, won Virginia. And now he's working for Fred Hubble in Iowa. So he's working on the governor's campaign.
Wow.
And then my youngest son is 20 years old, and he's in his 2nd year at the University of Vermont.
Is he digging it?
He loves it. His passion is fly fishing.
Wow.
So he loves the outdoors, and my family's from Vermont.
Oh, your whole family, from where you come from originally?
My father and my 5 brothers were born in Vermont, and then they moved to Hartford where I was born. So, but I've been going up to Vermont since I was 2 days old.
That's a big family, man. That's a lot of
6
siblings.
kids.
6 boys.
Wow.
He comes from 5.
Yeah.
Well, so you know.
I'm the put upon middle.
Oh, so you didn't get the big piece of chicken.
Sadly, no. That one's with Tom.
Exactly. I got the leg.
Wow. Were you the baby or?
Yeah, I'm the youngest. Yeah.
Wow. Isn't that weird? Even as adults, the family dynamic never goes away.
Never goes away. That's right. I walk into a room with all my brothers, I still keep quiet.
You'll be the baby to your 70.
Exactly. Just sit there and listen to everybody else.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
We had one sister, and I have one sister and 4 boys, and you know what I mean? It was like,
Wow.
why is Dan even talking? Well, that's amazing. I mean, did any of them, now I know your dad was a doctor, did any of them go into medicine or acting or anything?
Well, my brother, one of my brothers, Dan, he's a psychiatrist. My brother Richard went into acting and is a musician too. He's retired now. He lives in Greece. And then I have another brother who's a financial planner, one who's a landscape architect, and one who's a traveling piano teacher.
Wow. So music does run in the family.
It does. It does. I have a little clip of my father who, he died when I was very young.
Wow.
But I have a little 8mm video clip, film clip, of him conducting who's the family that came from, I think, Austria and landed in Vermont? The Sound of Music. What was that?
Oh yeah, the Von Trapps.
The Von Trapps.
The Von Trapps.
When they landed in Vermont, where my father lived, I have a little like 30-second film of him conducting the Von Trapp family.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow. No. See, that trips me out because when you look at your acting work, again, what's interesting about you is you would jump from gig to gig, and that's why, like the Dan O'Bannon. The Resurrected, aka I believe it was called The Departed, Charles.
Yeah, I think it was originally called The Something of Charles Dexter Ward. It was
The Strange Case of Charles, based on the Lovecraft story of the same name.
That's right.
Wow. How was O'Bannon? O'Bannon was the director of, writer of Alien, director of Return of the Living Dead.
Right.
Kind of an interesting character himself with phobias and everything else.
You know, I thought he was a really nice guy. I'm not sure he knew too much what he was doing as a director.
Yeah, it's not one of his best.
And so there was a bit of chaos on the set, you know, but between maybe the director and the producers and everything. But I tend to stay out of that stuff. And, you know, I'd sit with him at dinner and we'd have a great time. And so for me, Dan O'Bannon's a nice guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what about Chris Sarandon and Jane Sibbett, who you did the film with?
Oh, they're all nice people. You know, I actually ran into Chris a few months ago. I was doing an event in Colorado, an autograph thing, and he was there, you know. We drove back on the shuttle and we had a nice conversation. He's such a nice guy, you know. And Jane Sibbett, gee, I haven't seen or heard from her, I think, since that movie, you know.
Wow. I've been told by like 4 different women I'm supposed to ask you about playing Snake on Facts of Life.
Yeah.
You were Natalie's boyfriend in the Facts of Life, and
I deflowered her.
You did deflower Natalie on the.
I think even David Letterman mentioned that.
Every girl, I mean, you'll be deflowering her forever on TV Land.
You busted your nut quite a few times.
And hers.
In the cinema.
Don't ask me why. Don't ask me why they picked me to do that. But yes, that's sort of my MO. If you got a girl you need...
Deflowering.
That's right. Give me a call.
Robert Romanos' Stud Services.
Yeah, and getting girls pregnant. I mean, come on.
What comes to mind about Facts of Life, if I can ask? Because several women, including one who just texted, make sure you ask him about Facts of Life.
Well, you know, once again, I'm never happier than when I'm working, and all these girls were fabulous. You know, I think I did 6 episodes in their last season.
Wow.
And Mindy was great. She's just a very sweet girl, you know.
Nicole, now the voice of Velma and Scooby-Doo.
Is she?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, you are connected. They're all great. Cloris Leachman, you know, and I was thrilled to be able to say I worked with Cloris Leachman. I'm a huge fan of hers, you know. In fact, I just watched a movie the other night, I think it was Crazy Mama. You ever see that?
Yeah, with Robert De Niro.
No,
that's Bloody Mama. Yeah, this is crazy. Wow.
Crazy Mama. She plays the lead, and
it was a Corman movie though, New World, right?
Yeah, I think it was. Yes, Dick Miller's in it.
Of course, he's in it. Yeah,
love Dick Miller.
I was thinking that was sort of a remake of the Shelley Winters one.
Yes, it was.
Bloody Mama was the one with De Niro, and wow.
This was more of a kitschy comedy, you know.
Did you work with Dick Miller on anything? Because he's in everything.
Yeah, Dick and I were good friends. You know, I haven't seen him in years, but we did Fame for many seasons.
Wow.
And Dick owned the bar, or Dick owned the whatever it was, the coffee shop or the malt shop where all the kids used to hang out.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But
I also used to hang out with Dick at Schwab's.
Really?
Yeah.
And now, the interesting thing about him, have you seen the Amazon Prime documentary, That Guy, Dick Miller?
No.
Because like you, Dick Miller is one of these guys that everybody feels they know because he's killed in the original Terminator. He sells Arnold the guns. You know?
He has had a career that I would love to have, to be honest with you, you know.
He started out with Nicholson. One of the stories he told me is that when Nicholson got big, Nicholson would start to say to him, hey, let's go to France over the weekend. And Dick Miller was still a Corman guy and couldn't afford to, you know. Wow.
Yeah, he's a fabulous guy. I love him.
What I think is really cool is that working with the real Cherie Currie, and then the Runaways movie, and you're playing a music teacher.
That's right. That's
So
right.
how did that come about?
I auditioned for that.
Oh,
And, you know, being a musician, I think, really helped me because when I got the sides, they didn't really have the playing. You know what I mean? They had dialogue, and I don't know what I did, but I think I just learned a song and I incorporated me playing and singing into the audition, and I think that's what helped to sell it.
Wow. And I remember Sandra Curry did tell me they asked her to play Sherry's mom, their own mom.
Ah.
And when she turned it down, because she didn't really, she remembered what a hard time it was for Sherry during the Runaways. She said her mom was really mad. You left me unprotected on screen. She goes, it was in the family. At least we could have some. Interesting. So doing the Runaways movie, was that fun? Was that weird?
It was, no, it was great. Although I came across Joan Jett. She's a little scary,
Yeah.
I mean, she's beautiful and she's a very strong woman and everything, but her presence, it's like, oh, whoa. I'm afraid to talk to you because you just carry so much power. Felt like it,
yeah.
She had this great presence, man.
Wow. And I mean, as a musician, how would you describe your style?
As a what?
As a musician.
My original background in music, well, like I say, I got 5 older brothers, and I was born in 1956. So, I grew up on guys like, Kingston Trio,
Wow.
4 Freshmen, the 60s, early 60s music, the British invasion, So, I was always sort of into like pop music. What you'd hear on the AM radio.
Sure.
Because that's what I had, a little transistor AM radio.
Wow.
And at some point, maybe when I was about 14, my neighbor went to Berkeley in Boston, and he was a drummer. And he would come back, and he would sit down with me, and he'd show me all the stuff that he started to learn at Berkeley, which is jazz. And it really opened up my world as a drummer and a musician. And so I really started to get into jazz. And so over the years, I sort of incorporate a little bit of all of that, I can sit down and get a nice jazz feel or a country feel or a rock feel, you know what I mean? That was the beauty of me me wanting a job on Johnny Carson is that, these guys can play anything. You know what I mean? Whoever the guest is, whoever's going to come out and sing, we can play any kind of music you want.
That's amazing.
And that really has, that sort of has been my path, Papa's Kitchen is more of I'd say acoustic rock kind of stuff.
That's a fun. We enjoyed both
concerts
shows
of yours I went to.
Well,
yeah.
I appreciate it, man. I really do.
We really got excited to see you the second time.
Although you didn't do my favorite song.
I'm so sorry about that.
Damn it all.
And that first gig, when you played with Ronnie Cox, that's another guy that's really good.
Yeah, huh? That was great. He's a good musician.
And both of you had some great songs with humor.
The stories in the middle, how you came up with this song or that song, it was really fascinating to me. You know what I mean? I mean, that like you said, like Jeff is saying, you had these great stories that these quietly beautiful little songs that you would,
Well, I like to try and keep my stories short. Sometimes, the musicians talk for like 20 minutes and then play a 2-minute song. But I like to, if I can, give you a little insight into the tune and then get on with the tune.
Wow. And what was the first song you wrote?
Well, the first song I wrote was probably back in maybe in the late 70s, and it was called Shades of Blue and Gray. And it was about, it really was about, moving on and just having memories, the memories of your family or whatever, and life goes on, and that's sort of what you're left with, shades of blue and gray, of memories,
It's touching. And by the way, a deep song for a guy who was only like 23 when he wrote it.
I'm a deep guy.
It's your humility that grabs us.
I'm like a duck, calm on the surface, but paddling like hell underneath.
Wow. Interesting.
The first, when I saw you in that play with our friend, we love KK Ryder. When she introduced me to you, I was so impressed. Doing stage, that's a whole different thing, man.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was like a one-act play. That's so much dialogue.
Yeah. That was
through that play. I was just blown away.
And not only that, but the writer would come in every day and change it.
No.
And I had pages of monologues, so I'd learn the monologue, and then I'd come in and he'd switch it all around, or he'd take this out or that out. So that was a really good exercise in being able to remember your lines.
Wow.
That's good acting right there, when you could memorize
all
that 2 hours of dialogue. I mean,
when you do something like that, though, what's the trick for remembering your dialogue?
Well, the short-term memory, I think it's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. I couldn't tell you one of those. I couldn't, recite any of those lines today. But at the time, my process is I look at the piece, I read through it, I put it down, and I try to remember what I can. And then I look at the piece and I look and see what I didn't remember.
Wow.
And then I put it down and I go through it again. And until I get it, you know what I mean? And then I'll usually read it or go through it in my head at night before I go to sleep. It'll be the last thing I do is go through all the dialogue, And then when you wake up in the morning, it's sort of solidified a little bit, And I sort of learned that process working on a soap on Days of Our Lives.
You were on Days of Our Lives?
Oh, for 2 years, yeah.
Did you work with Arlene Sorkin on that?
Yeah, I think so. I played a character named Speed, and I was the town terror, the motorcycle gang leader.
Oh my God!
And when you're in the middle of a storyline on a soap opera, you'll get 30 pages of dialogue that need to be. You'll get it on Monday, and it's due on Tuesday. And then Tuesday night, you'll get another script with another 30 pages that are due on Wednesday, So it's a real exercise. That's when I realized, it's really a muscle. The more I use it, the better it gets,
Would you ever go for the comfort of a prompter on that, or you just memorized it?
Well, they didn't have prompters, and I probably wouldn't, I mean, the thing about acting is, ideally, you want to learn the dialogue and then forget it. You know what I mean? So that you're not sitting there thinking of what the dialogue is. You're sitting there reacting to whoever you're dealing with. You know what I mean? So the goal is to know your lines and then kind of forget it and play off of what you got going.
I have to ask, what was it like doing Family Guy?
Oh my God! I just saw that right here. I had no idea.
I never
Mike
did
Damone
Family Guy.
on the Family Guy.
They just used a clip from the film.
Really?
And they used a live action clip.
They thanked you in the credits, though.
Yeah, of course. They got to thank me and pay me.
So did you run into Seth MacFarlane, call you up and say, "Hey, we want to do this"?
The company called and said we would like his permission to use this clip, and I said sure. And but then I went down and met them all. I saw a table reading and got to meet them all and say hello. So that was nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now, with Fast Times, has it been when you look at a movie like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which becomes even more than a cult classic, it becomes this thing, you know what I mean, where it's unto itself.
I'll tell you, it's in the Library of Congress.
It is. It's a certified classic with the Library of Congress.
Who would have thought? What was the question?
Is it weird having something like that, like this generation's American Graffiti on you? You know what I mean?
Weird? No, not at all, man. It's great. I mean, it's who'd have thought I'd be talking about it 35 years later? Really, And, I mean, it's allowed me so many things. It gave me a nice career in show business. And in my later years, I get to go and meet people and sign autographs, and I'm so
and free tickets
And I am thrilled that I have. And let me tell you, there are a lot of actors out there, and there aren't that many that have a hit like Fast Times under their belt. So I feel very fortunate, and it never bothers me when someone comes up and says, "Hey, little prick, you're that guy."
How did you get the part? Did you audition, or were you chosen, or what?
Well, of course, he auditioned.
I auditioned. This took 7 weeks.
Wow.
I went in my first audition, and Amy Heckerling looked at me and she said, "Don't cut your hair."
Wow.
So I thought, great, hey, I got a shot. So I went home and I didn't hear for a week, and then I got a call. They want you to come in and read again. So I came back and I read again and said thank you, and I left, and I didn't hear for a week, and I thought, oh, well, I guess I didn't get it, and then I get a call. They want you to come back again. So I go back in, I read again, and I start doing improvs, right? And then it's over, I say goodbye, go home, I don't hear from them, I figure, well, okay, I didn't get it. And then I get a call again. Now I go down, and Amy Heckerling, she's got me reading with other actors and blah, blah, blah. And I say, thank you. I go home. I don't hear for a week. I figure, oh, well, they went another way. And by now, it's an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a really nice role in a film, a nice big role in a film, so it would have been nice for me, even though I never imagined it would be what it turned out to be.
Yeah, cultural phenomenon.
After another week, I get another call. They want to see you again. So I go down. Now Amy takes me to makeup. She takes me to wardrobe. We go back in. I start doing every scene in the script for Art Linson, the producer.
Wow.
I'm doing
great producer, by the way. Untouchables.
Yeah, he really is, yeah. And I do improvs and, everything. And then at the end of it all, this was the 7th week. At the end of it all, I looked at Art and I said, I really, really like the role. And I think I could do it really well. But I'm not going to come back again for you.
Wow.
And that's when he said, well, welcome aboard.
Wow.
Yes!
And then
I
found out from Amy much later that he was concerned that I was too old for the role.
Wow.
And that was the hang-up.
Really? Because you were in your 20s playing a kid.
I was 26.
Wow.
But, everybody was. Judge was 26 maybe, and, Sean and Jennifer, maybe they were the youngest, and they were 20, 21, so.
No, but for you to have the guts to tell this major producer, Linson, that you were going to come back again,
Well, at the time, he was not a major producer. At the time,
that's pre-Untouchables, right?
Yeah, exactly. This is maybe I don't know what his record was before this, but
long before Fight Club.
Yeah, I mean, it really wasn't about anything but the emotional roller coaster. It's like give me the job or don't.
Right.
Don't put me through the mill. I mean, it's an emotional thing, and you think you're getting close to. For the actor, the work is getting the job. It's not the job. The job is fun. The work is going in and meeting with all these people, and so. The truth is, I'd rather go back to the restaurant than do it again.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
honestly,
after 2 times, you should do I have the part or not?
Exactly. If you can't make up your mind by now, then
My agent always jokes, unavailed means it's between you and the actor who gets it. That's amazing. Now, what did you learn from Amy Heckerling? What did you think of her?
I love Amy. She's my favorite director.
Wow.
And what I've learned from Amy, watching her, is that she treats every actor differently. She has such a good eye, and she's so smart, and she sees what it is that you need to get the best work out of you.
Wow.
Which may be different than this person over here. This person might need, some directing. This person might need, little help in getting to the point of the scene. And this person you might just sit back and let him do what he does. You know what I mean? So that to me was really interesting, that she has a way of getting the best out of you, and does it individually with each person differently. You know, she's very good about seeing what it is you need to get to what she needs.
Wow. Was it a long shoot?
I think it was 30 days.
And I mean, what I loved about that, especially with the Cameron Crowe script, did you meet Cameron Crowe at all, by the way?
Oh, he was on the set every day.
The writer was on set?
Every day.
That's amazing and rare.
And he was a very sweet guy. You know, if there was something that wasn't flowing out of your mouth, he'd say, well, let's change it, you know. So he was not, you know, it's not like, oh, here comes the writer. It was like, hey, Cameron, you know, hey, I'm thinking this. This is what I'm thinking, you know. And he's like, yeah, it sounds great, you know. So he was a great guy. He had some nice stories to tell, you know. I think, you know, it's been so long and memories get jumbled and stuff, but I recall him telling me one day about the 5-point plan, although maybe it's not true, because maybe I thought it up. That's what I mean. You know, 35 years later, you don't know, but I recall him telling me that he went back to school. Right, he enrolled as a high school kid.
Yes, I read the book is pretty great.
Yeah, he enrolled as a high school kid when he was 22 years old, and spent the year with these kids. Right, didn't tell them what he was doing, and he said they were all out having pizza one day after school, and one of the kids at the table, they're talking, and one of the kids says, "What you need is my 5-point plan." And he starts going into, you know, you never let on how much you really like a girl. And he's laying out the whole 5-point plan. And Cameron's like freaking out. He runs into the bathroom and he writes it all down on a napkin, you know. Which is why I think Fast Times resonates, because there was so much truth in it. It was really out of the mouth of babes.
And the character you're based on tried to sue, and he settled for a guitar from from. Did you know this?
No,
he and his wife. The character, the guy your character is based on, filed a suit afterwards, and he settled for one of his wife's guitars from Heart.
Oh, wow.
She signed it, and that he considered it done after that.
Wow, man.
I thought that was...
I had no idea.
Yeah. I thought that was one of the more interesting aspects of the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow. And you're going to play for us today, aren't you? I saw your axe outside.
Did you bring your guitar?
I did, yeah. If I can remember it, I'll play Table for One for you.
Thank you, because it's a great damn song, actually.
You want me to get that now?
Yeah, I can bring it to you, but it's your baby. Oh, yeah, don't forget the headphones.
All right.
Wow.
Oh, good. I did, because he didn't bring the guitar.
I saw it when I got his water. I didn't want to...
Yeah, oh,
yeah, bravo.
Well,
all right, here he is.
Wow.
Papa's Kitchen Solo. Here we go.
Let me
Are you going to put a capo on there? Oh, I thought I saw a capo. No.
Let me get tuned up here.
Okay.
Now...
What kind of guitar is that? You got your tuner blocking it.
It's a Martin.
Oh, it's a Martin. That cost you some money, huh? Did you get a good deal?
35. Huh?
Did you get a good deal on it?
Oh, I probably paid what everybody pays.
Arm and a leg? What kind of strings are you using?
Well, I don't know. They're light. I know nothing about guitars, and you know, I'm so not into. Some guys are like, I got 45 guitars, and this one's got these kind of pickups, and this got that.
Yeah.
And I am so the opposite of that. I'm like, is it easy to play? Good. Is the action good?
I got to play D'Addario strings because I built the guy a guitar. So
oh, no kidding.
He gives me free strings.
Those are good strings.
Yeah. Here we go.
Okay. I hope I remember all of it.
I love it.
Table for one. Sounds pretty sad. It's not much fun. It's pretty bad when you get the blues And the blues always come when you're stuck at a table. Table for one. Since you've been gone, the coffee won't brew. No jam on my toast or kisses from you. I pull back the blinds, I search for the sun, and now the sun's setting on the table for one.
Yeah.
I wish that I could tell you how I wound up here, but there's no one here to tell it to. I wish that I could wish my loneliness away, till that dream comes true. What am I to do? A table for one. I can't be my fate. Maybe I'm wrong. I just have to wait. I wait for the day until that day comes. Stuck at a table, table for one.
Wow, bravo. That's such a great damn song. It's sad, but it's jaunty and funny as well.
Because it's about real life, man.
It's real life.
How many times have you ever been at a table for one? I have.
Yeah. It's embarrassing, especially when they say it out loud.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
Table for two, but then the other person never shows up.
That's even sadder.
Wow. I like the bluesiness of it. It's a serious song. It's about loneliness and everything else, but it's also jaunty and funny the way you're putting it.
Well, I like to find a little humor if I can, in our songs. Some of them have a nice wit and whimsy, as I like to say.
It is. It's funny. The lead character, the singer is, of course, the character in the song is, of course, embarrassed and everything else. The setting sun being a metaphor for his existence.
Yeah,
Now, when did you write that?
Oh, that's. I was just looking back at our CDs to see which one it was on. I couldn't find them all, but that might be about 10 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it fun to try out your stuff? Do you like to playing the newer stuff more, or do you like the classic original stuff when you started the band?
Well, I like to play it all, honestly, it's all fun. I'll be honest with you. Performing's not my favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
That's terrible because you're so good at it.
I'm in the wrong business, to be honest with you.
Doesn't want to act, doesn't want to sing.
Exactly. I don't
Every performance you do, you kill it, man.
But I hate the tension. I hate, I wear drab clothing. I don't want people to be like, hey, look at that, I'm so, don't want to be there, but I can do it. You know what I mean? It's something that I do, and so I in a lot of ways, I kind of begrudgingly get up there, and then enjoy myself once I'm up there. You know, a lot of this is really Steve. My songwriting partner. He loves to get up and perform, and so I do. He digs it. I don't mind it. So we find the right venue that works for us. We get up and do it,
Well, I mean, like the Rose Cafe and stuff. It's both intimate and it's big enough that there's a crowd, but it's also sort of intimate compared to
Yeah, we'll play mostly intimate places, Room 5 in Hollywood, or even Genghis Khan, or what was the last? We do these little wine and song things every once in a while. That's where you guys came and
Yeah, you're great.
I love that place, man. It's I like it because it's up close and personal. You know? It's like a little gathering,
That's right. We haven't played. I've never played a huge place, maybe 100 people tops, So I like the smaller places. You feel a little more connected to your audience,
You're going to do any more gigs with Ronnie?
Oh, no. I think that was set up through the guy who sets up that show. I didn't even know Ronnie was going to be there, And then when I saw him, I was really impressed, He gets some really good musicians come through there.
It blows me away because it's a cool, intimate venue. And when you're there, the acoustics on the walls and everything are perfect.
Sounds great. And he pays his musicians.
Wow, by the way, rare in this day and age.
That's a rarity,
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, you were in a Styx documentary. How the hell did that happen?
Well,
Sorry, friend.
They called and asked me if I would. They were making that. They were making that Mr. Roboto movie, back in the time when they were touring that album. I forget what the name. It might have been called Mr.
Roboto. I think is the name of the album. Kilroy was here.
Yeah, that's right. And it was a really cool little movie. Basically, it was me and Tommy Shaw running around trying to set something free. I don't know.
And robots were by Stan Winston, pre-Jurassic Park, pre-Terminator.
Oh, I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So that was really cool, and it was like a 15-minute film.
It's amazing.
We shot it at the Wiltern Theater.
You shot that at the Wiltern?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it opened up their concert tour. They'd show the 15-minute film, and then they'd come out, Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto, and pick it up from there.
And the weird thing about them is they said have the crowd who grew up with them from the 70s hate them for Mr. Roboto, but it's my favorite song of theirs. They were considered Star Wars era sellouts for doing Mr. Roboto, which I think is amazing.
I don't know. I like Styx, It was kind of cool because after that I hung out with them for a while. Took their,
Is the singer Dennis DeYoung still in the band?
Yeah, he was when I saw them play before NASCAR.
I don't know. I haven't followed them in a long time, and I know for a while there was some kind of feuding or something going on, and Tommy Shaw went off to do something else with another band,
And he wouldn't play Girls with Guns. That used to drive me nuts. Listen, man, that's your solo hit away from the band. Do Girls with Guns.
I love, when I do karaoke, I always, Lady's my song. I do that song. I pulled it off last week. It was hard. I had to do it a couple times before I got it down. Not easy.
I'm so glad Robert came in to interview you, Jeff. I want to know about, when you do that, what is your position on bands, by the way? Do you like it when the guy in the band is not the lead singer, but the name of the band is still the same, or do you consider that a violation?
Say that. Give me. What do you mean?
Creedence Clearwater is being run by Fogerty's brother, but not Fogerty. Do you consider that Creedence Clearwater revival, or is that a bastard?
That's why they said revisited.
They call it ghost bands. They call it ghost bands when the lead singer is gone and they do the band without them.
Well, it's like even when there's one member, I consider it like a tribute band, but...
Well, it's not the same. No. It's not the same. It may sound good, but... I probably wouldn't say, I'm going to see, Creedence, because it's not Creedence.
Fogerty wrote and sang all the songs.
He is Creedence.
He is Creedence. So that sort of stuff blows me away that they can get away with that,
Well, everybody's trying to make some dough these days, and the only way to do it, really, in the music industry today is to get on the road and sell that merch, because it's, they're not selling records unless you're, downloading a 26-cent record a billion times. You're not making any money, so that's why you get all these guys who are all back out on the road doing tours, because that's where the money is, and it's not even necessarily in the ticket sales as it is in selling all the merchandise.
Who was a big influence on you? What bands did you like? And what's the last great concert you went to?
Wow. I mean, I grew up loving the Beatles and the Beach Boys and the Stones and the Who and Led Zeppelin and Santana and Van Morrison. You know, I mean, that's who I grew up listening to. Yes. You know, I remember,
by the way, owning up to Yes, good man.
Yeah, you know, sitting in my basement with the headphones on, looking at the album covers, reading the album covers while you're spacing out on, you know, Roundabout. You know what I mean? So that's who I really grew up on. That's who I I even have them in my car. The last concert I went to, I can't even remember.
Wow.
You know, there's not really, you know, there's nobody new I want to go out and see. There's nobody in today's music that I'm dying to get out and see. And like you say, the guys who I grew up with are kind of half there.
Yeah. I mean, come on, guys, pull it together for the band, you know?
Yeah. So, you know, the older I get, the less I find myself going out like that. And,
wow.
I might go see a friend or something, you know,
but you don't feel that, like you said, you don't want to see half the band.
I don't want to see half the band, and, you know, I really hate crowds. So, you know, unless it's someone I know or a real special show, I'm more apt to go see a play, go see the theater, you know, and probably smaller theater, you know, than I am to go see a big concert somewhere, you know.
I like that theater that I saw you at. That's about, 40 people?
Yeah, it's a very tiny little theater.
And it was great, but it was all tiered up, you know, and I thought it was a great place to see any, you know, a performance.
It's a really nice little theater and very intimate.
There's a few of them there. A lot of them there on Magnolia Avenue.
Yeah.
There's that one we saw your screening at.
Oh, yeah. You know,
that's at about 30, 40 people.
Right. There's an intimacy to it that I really like, especially with music.
You know, I'll tell you, when you do in a bigger theater, you don't, you know, you can sense the people really, but you don't see them. Mostly all you see are bright lights. You know what I mean? When you do these smaller theaters, it's almost like these people are sitting right in your living room. Wow. You know what I mean? And I look out and I see them. I really get a sense if they're there with me or not. You know, I kind of like that. And same with the music too. I like to look at you. You know, I like to look into your eyes when I'm singing. So in a big venue, it's kind of hard because you don't really see the people. You just see the bright lights and you see the shadows. You know, but in these smaller venues, I know who you are.
Wow, and to me, that's really interesting because when you're doing something like that, I mean, you obviously know when your music's finally got them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can feel it. Same with theater. You know, you can feel when they're there with you. You can feel when they're bored. You know.
Wow. And what do you do? What tricks do you do as a musician and as an actor when you know the audience is losing the material?
Well, what you don't do is start pushing. Because that's the natural reaction is to, I got to try a little harder.
Be bigger,
try a little harder.
Go for the cheap seats.
Yes, exactly. And, you know, the key is to just kind of stay within yourself. And, you know, if you're not digging it, you're not digging it. You know, I can't help you there, really. I can just play it as I see it and hope you get it, you know. And so some nights, you know, theater's really weird because some nights you'll get a crowd and they will laugh at everything. You know what I mean? You pop a soda can and everybody starts laughing, you know, and then the next night, not a chuckle, not a hee-haw, nothing. You know what I mean? It's just dead silence. And that same audience could really enjoy the show. You know, at the end of the show, you'll be like, oh, they hated it, man, not even a thing. You'll get out there and be like, that was so good, you were so good. And they sort of keyed into the drama of it, rather than the comedy like the audience before. So you can't really, you know, I can't do my show, you know, to please you as much as I got to do it to stay within myself and please myself, and this is how I would like it to come out.
Sure.
And hopefully you get it, you know.
Wow.
Do we can we get another song? Because we got about 10 more minutes. We would love another song.
Well, let's see. This is something off the new album. It's just,
Please.
Yes.
What's the new album called, by the way?
I don't know
pimp it.
yet. I'm still working on it. I mean, we have all the songs, and we're getting a final mix on it, but I haven't worked out any of the like what the cover's going to be or what we're going to call it. So,
Wow.
I don't know. This is another just. Well, let's see. I'll sing this one because I can remember it. Baby, I'm dreaming of you. What you wanna do about our love, baby? I'm counting on you. What you wanna do about our love? Lately it seems you've broken all my dreams. Well, what am I? Chopped liver in your eye, baby. I'm waiting on you. What you wanna do about our love? Lately it seems you've broken all my dreams. Well, what am I? Chopped liver in your eye, baby. I'm dreaming of you. What you wanna do about our love? What you wanna do about our love?
Wow. Bravo. Wow. No.
Yeah.
How do you get the idea for a song? When is like something like, I'm assuming that's called chopped liver?
Yeah, I call it chopped liver.
Inspiration. What's your inspiration, Robert?
Well, it's funny, you know, my songwriting partner, Steve, he's very prolific.
We met Steve. I
Yeah.
couldn't remember. I'm trying to find his phone number on my. I got it, and I couldn't remember his last name.
Feldman.
Feldman.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
He's very prolific. You know, he's a real wordsmith kind of guy, and he'll write maybe 10 songs to every one I write.
Wow.
For me, I have to be like inspired, and a lot of times it'll come out of something like a depression or you know what I mean, something
Yeah.
that you really get connected to. You're feeling strong. You know, this whole, you know, like I watch the news and it really starts to get to you after a while, and you know, I mean, you got to say something about it. So I'll just sit down with my guitar or piano, and just for me, it usually starts with kind of a riff or a rhythm. Music is more my thing, you know, and then something will come out. You know what I mean? Writing, I think, is, as they say, 90% perspiration, 10% inspiration.
Wow.
You know, so you get that little inspiration of a baby.
Yeah.
I'm dreaming of you. What you want to do about our love? And now you got to sit down and and work it out. You know what I mean? So,
Make the song live up to the hook.
yes, exactly. And for me, it usually comes with, something that I'm connected to emotionally. You know, Steve could sit down and write a story about a guy who rolls in from Texas and, you know what I mean, sits at the bar and tell this beautiful story. I really couldn't do that. To me, I have to be connected emotionally to what's going on, you know.
Makes sense.
I like that jazziness you got in you. You know?
I got a little swing in me.
You got
Yeah,
a swing in
and
jazz.
it's nice because you can turn it on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And where can people follow you on Facebook?
Well, on Facebook, I'm under, I think it's Bob or Robert Romanos.
I wanted to ask you because of the spelling. It's Robert Romanos, and then there's Robert Romanos.
Well,
Romanos.
in on my license and birth certificate, it's OS.
Oh.
In show business, it's US.
Yes, I know.
And that came about because my brother changed it many years ago when he was an actor. He thought it made him sound less ethnic or something. So he changed. Yes, exactly.
Punk.
But that was back in the day of
Charlie Sheen.
How many minutes we got left, Pat?
Let's see.
Wrap it up.
Let's see. And I was someone in 2 minutes, and someone just said, "Hey, you guys didn't ask him about." Hey, we didn't ask you about.
What they say?
Phoebe Cates.
We were supposed to ask you about Tales from the Dark Side.
Oh, great. I love that show, man.
Did you enjoy doing that?
Oh, I loved that. Yeah. And I worked with Chernovsky. I forget what his name was. He was the professor on Fame.
Oh, yeah.
So he was
Wow.
also my boss on that show. That was a great show.
It was one of those great syndicated successes, you know?
Yeah, it's like the Twilight Zone or something.
Yeah. For George Romero. Did you shoot it here or in Pittsburgh?
Oh, we shot that here.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, how can you have this time with Robert Romanos and not ask him about Alien Nation?
Alien Nation.
Yeah.
How could you even recognize me? It was like 4 hours in makeup.
Did you like that?
I had no idea.
You were one of the aliens, man. You were Zach the alien.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, my God.
What was that like being
And we
screened?
shot that in the hotel where Bobby Kennedy was shot.
Oh, you
Oh,
did that in the
my God.
Ambassador Hotel.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That was really kind of cool and a little creepy.
Did you go to the spot? Because I actually, before they tore it down,
I went into the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know exactly where it was, but I'm sort of walking around. And like I say, it was a little creepy, you know. It's all shut down and abandoned. And
yeah.
There's ghosts in there.
No,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
one of the bus boys did tell us he thought that was haunted.
Oh, I felt haunted, I'll tell you, you know. It was creepy.
How do we follow you on Instagram? What do you
On
on Instagram?
Instagram, I'm Bob's_espresso.
All right.
And now, in the last 8 seconds, I want to thank, on behalf of Jeff and Janki, we want to thank you, Robert, for coming in. It was a blast. Thank you so
well,
much.
It's my
Thank
pleasure,
you
you
so
guys.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you
And
very much.
have a great summer. And by the way, it's your birthday in 2 weeks. Happy birthday.
Oh, thanks, man.
Invite us. We'll party. We'll bring the cake and ice cream.
All right, good.
And
Robert, thank you so much for making the trip.
my pleasure.
We really enjoyed it.
that's our show for today. Tomorrow, the world famous Sancho,
I can't remember.
John Redcorn.
World famous, and I can't remember who's coming
John Redcorn tomorrow in the studio.
in. John Redcord from King of the Hill. Wow. Thank you. Good night. Wow. Hey, Robert, thank you so much for coming in. It was a blast.
Oh, thank you, man.
Okay, let me go shut off the live
Oh,
stream.
yeah, just shut the live feed so we can talk honestly. Okay. Watch out for his axe. Wow.
I've only got to play a Martin in the guitar, and then they got your eyes on you. They don't want you to, ask for assistance. Some in the Guitar Center, you get those real expensive Martins.
No, thank you so much. I enjoyed your music is great. Your band is great. Your story. Have you thought about writing a book?
I don't know what I write.